But it's not just curators and historians who continue to be raptured by Lavery's mastery of his craft. The more we asked around, the more we realised that many of our current day artists cite Lavery as a chief source of their inspiration. And among all of them, there's probably no better example of this than Brian John Spencer. Even if you grab a mic, we can walk around and look at wee bits and stuff as well.
Check.
So, can you just give us a who are you and where are we?
Brian John Spencer, Belfast artist. The studio, the tumble down studio, it's like an old ballroom, something you'd see in a Malone house or something. The wallpaper's peeling and there's big holes in the walls.
We caught up with Brian in his studio in Belfast city centre, and just like every time we go to visit Brian, we were surprised by what we saw. I was doing the interview yesterday with the Ulster Museum, and Anne Stewart spent a lot of time talking about this painting.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
As soon as I walked in, I was like, "No way! You've done Daylight Raid." So
yeah. It's a millimeter precise replica.
Wow.
I went on to whatever's a British Academy or Irish Academy, and they've got the millimeter precise dimensions of it.
Unbelievable. There was a writer that I love and I respect, and they were writing in their book, and they say one of the first things they did was they got an old typewriter and they typed out The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
They wanted to channel and feel what it was like to create a masterpiece. So, why have you recreated some of Lavery's work? What do you gain from that as an exercise, as an artist?
It's kind of exactly what you just said there. You know, if you're starting out a painting and you're learning the ropes, it's a bit like if you're learning the guitar, you learn the simple stuff.
You learn Wonderwall. Yeah.
and then a couple others, and then from that, once you've got the basic building blocks, you can riff on that. So I suppose, you just by reproducing it, you go through the process, and then you apply that to your own paintings.
Wow.
So I actually was going through a whole splurge, 6-month splurge, doing all these Sir John Lavery paintings. I just love the style, I love this portraiture, I love this range, that he did landscapes and scenes, and I then bumped into Kim and Winnie at the Ulster Museum, and I was like, oh, I'm just loving Lavery. She said, oh yeah, we've got this exhibition coming up, it's called, I've got it here, The Artist is Thief. So what happened was she said, well, why don't you come in, since you're doing all these Lavery copies in your own studio, come into the Ulster Museum and into the big hall and actually just do a copy of Daylight.
Yeah, the Daylight Raid, yeah.
And we timed it so that it was actually 100 years to the day when he painted it.
Wow.
So he sat and painted that in 1917, I think. I can give you the exact date now. Chosen to commemorate the centenary, I'm quoting here, of when it was first sketched on July 7, 1917.
Crazy.
So I went down on July 7, 2017 and painted it. I think that's, for a lot of people, that's their favourite Lavery painting, and their even favourite painting of all time, favourite painting in the Ulster Museum.
Yeah.
For me, I like it, but it's not my favourite.
Do you have a favourite Lavery?
Yeah, I love... there's the one of the horse racers, the jockeys, in the riding room.
Yeah.
And it's just the brevity of it.
Yeah.
If you get up close, it's just big, muddy, thick globules of paint. You step away and there's so much bounce to it. And then there's also the painting of the man relaxing in his, I think it's in Tangier, in his room. And then there's also the parade painting, because that got me into a whole big world.
Yeah.
I was actually at a health seminar, and I was actually there to paint. I think I was just painting the different speakers, and a friend of mine, real character, outgoing. He's also an Orange man, and but very cultural. He's very interested in my art, and I remember him saying to me, "You know what you need to do? I love your art, but also love John Lavery. You know what you need to do? You need to go out and do what he did. He used to paint the bands, and I don't think I realised this. So I did a bit of research, saw what he did, and my whole thing was live painting of portraits of people. And that was what Lavery did as well. He'd paint people who stood in front of him, but he would also go out and paint horse racing at Cheltenham or whatever. And then he obviously has this famous painting, the 12th of July parade in Portadown, 1922 or so. That just, whoa, I was like, whoa. So I'm doing these live portraits, I could do this live event painting. So did the research, looked at the painting the next 12th of July, whenever that was, 3 or 4 years ago. I just rocked up to, I did 2 in one day, I can't remember what it was. One was near the City Hospital, and the earlier one was at Clifton Street Bridge, I think, near Carlisle Circus. And I painted that at the head of the parade. It was just amazing, so energising to go in maybe an hour or two before it, just get the background sketched out, and then as I walk past, quickly mark in the figures, and it came out really well. it just felt eerie because nobody does that. Nobody's done it in years, from what I can see. But your man Lavery did it. You can sometimes see it in the Ulster Museum. It's obviously in their permanent collection, donated by Lavery. And then that sparked a whole, it's just a tradition.
And something that is really interesting me about Lavery is how him and his wife Hazel, who's a very interesting woman in her own right, they moved in like really influential circles. Yeah. But like politically speaking, like influential circles of all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
So, you know, one second they're teaching Churchill how to paint, and then next thing you know, they're like hanging out with Michael Collins.
Yeah, yeah.
But they seem to be very much kind of like head down and just really focused on the art. Like, we're just here to make art and we're here to document history.
Yeah.
What role do you think an artist plays in recording moments in time and, you know, being an important kind of documenter of history?
Oh, yes, a fascinating question. Yeah, that was, I think, again, the big inspiration for me of being drawn to Lavery and inspired by him in the first hand. But then when you actually really get into him and read about him and look into his work, and you just realise how he was right at the centre of it, and his sort of soft diplomacy and his... that's what's probably most inspiring, that he seemed finally attuned to accommodating and marking and not putting either one down or elevating one above the other.
Yeah.
The fact that he did these paintings of, I think everyone's seen a painting of Michael Collins, but have people seen the ones that the one he did at Churchill? Has people seen, you know, maybe not as well known, the one of like Sir Edward Carson? And when they sit together now in the Ulster Museum, from time to time, it just sort of